We've heard this story over and over and over and over, right? I mean, I'm willing to bet that if you've been in church 40 years, you've heard this story 46 times. Because we've done it 4 times just this week, these last few weeks, right? We've heard a story of waste. We've heard a story of lostness. We've heard a story of running away. We've heard a story of love and forgiveness and care. We've heard of so many different ways of viewing this story. So now what are you going to do with it, preacher man? You know, as we read through that story, there are some pieces. Every time I read a Bible story, every time there's some nuance. And so today, as we take a look at this father, what we're told is about a father who is compelled to throw an extravagant party, to serve a meal, to make a big sacrifice for a kid who asked for half of everything he owned, put it in his pocket, and went far away. Because, as Pastor explained to us, he didn't have a choice. Once he pulled that move, he needed to get out. From a cultural perspective, from a family perspective, from just the people in his town, once he did what he did, it was done. He needed to get away and not be with them. So he goes through all that, and when he goes through all that and he comes back, we're told that the father says, let's take one of our greatest prizes, sacrifice it, and cook it up for him, and invite everybody, and let's have a big old party. In fact, he not only says that, but there's the piece I want us to look at this week, the thing I want us to concentrate on is something that if you don't pay attention, you may just skip over. And it's the father says, how could we not celebrate? What do you mean, why are we celebrating? How could we not celebrate? I'm not recommending that you run out and have children if you don't have them yet. You might want to think about that a minute. But I am going to tell you that from a parent's perspective, I think Pastor Jen and Michael showed you this morning just how much those babies mean to us. And you know what's weird, Pastor Jen? I was listening to you, and I'm up there praying with you, and as you're walking through that, and I'm thinking, well, he's our kid too. Isn't he? I mean, we raised Samuel. He's at least 1/3 our fault. Whatever he does wrong, that's our third, right? But we've got to recognize as we listen to this brother where he was at. I mean, let's not be naive and childish. Let's take a look at what this meant culturally. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I think Pastor Paul has done a very good job of talking it out. But you know, when this kid came back, as far as his brother was concerned, what the threat here was, hey, wait a minute. We cut that in half, and I get half. And now he took his half, and he ate it all in one sitting. And now he's back. And you're fixing to cut the other half? Wait. So, not easy, right? We're going to celebrate with this fella who ought to be punished. Punishment from a Jewish perspective at this time went rather extreme really quickly. Like, boy, don't come home, we're going to kill you. Don't even show up on my property. We think of it like, well, we don't spank. We don't believe in spanking. Let your kid put his hand on the stove the second time. Let's see what your reaction is. Okay, but we think of it as an optional thing. We don't have to spank. We don't spank. I applaud you if you can roll that way. But this was not an optional thing. This was the law. So to the brother, again, hey, wait. Point of order. Not only are we not supposed to be having a party for him, not only am I not supposed to be splitting my half again with him, not only, but you're supposed to kill him. He disgraced him, he disgraced you, he disgraced me, he disgraced the whole family. And this is where he stands with it. But the father's response is, what else are we going to do? We got a party. We've got to party. We've got to have this feast. We must have this meal. We must embrace him and love on him. So for some people, this is where the analogy of the Father being God breaks down. And the reason is that we think of God as the punisher. There's the great line from the theological masterpiece that is Bruce Almighty. Smite me, almighty smiter! Because we kind of think we see that coming. That's who this guy is, right? That's who God is. Sorry for yelling, Kevin. But that's who we see this God as. But I want to invite you to come back with me to Genesis 1, 2, 3. This is not a new thing for God. We love to think of the punisher God because it makes it easy to look at your kid and go, God's going to get you. You better not do that. Don't you be out past curfew. I know what you're doing. God's going to get you. It makes it easy to say, well, you know what they did. That's okay because God's going to get them. The problem is, this is the Father that we're talking about, right here. We go back to Genesis 1, 2, and 3. God gives them everything they could possibly want, puts it all in a nice little package and everything they could possibly need. All the food, all the animals to hang out, all the perfect nature to be in, perfect temperature, live forever, perfect mate, no clothes. Okay, that was supposed to be funny. Unashamed is really the better way of saying that. No guilt, no concern, no nothing. And they decided that they wanted to have their inheritance right now. They want to have the power. They want to have the control. The only thing they weren't supposed to do. I want that right now. And they took it. And when they decided to take it, they're the son. God's reaction. What we all want to remember is God threw them out of the garden. But you know what we don't want to remember? He covered them in animal skins. He went calling for them, looking for them. Think he knew where they were? He knew where they were. He went looking for them and loved on them and cared for them. And frankly, put them out of harm's way in the mess they had made and provided for them. The Hebrews in the desert, God rescues them from Egypt, does multiple miracles in front of them, parts the Red Sea, stops the armies from following them, provides them food as they're out. And the whole time, well, that's not good enough. I used to have meat in my pot back in Egypt. We could have sat around and done nothing on Egypt. Oh yeah, there was the bricks thing, and they have to get your own straw thing, and the slavery and the beatings and the killings. But, hey, Egypt was awesome. But they mumbled and groaned and mumbled and groaned. And they wandered. The Son. God's punishment? A land with grapes so big it took 2 guys to haul them out. Running with milk and honey. As they grumbled and complained and whined the whole way there. And said I can't possibly go. I cannot possibly go in there and take this awesome thing that you're giving me. The Son. God's reaction is to bless them and care for them. You're the Son. And you weren't the whiny one either. You're the one who took what God gave you and you've misused it, and you've run away, and you've done your own thing. And God's reaction? He put on skin. I'm sorry. I didn't see that coming. He put on skin. And he left heaven. He left heaven. And he came here with you. And he didn't take the easy route either. He came as a baby and went through all that mess. Wouldn't it have been so much easier if he just landed at 30 and said, look, here's the way it's going to go. I'm not putting up with that mess. I am not going to be a teenager. It ain't happening. He left heaven and he ran to you. It's 3 words and it's killing me today. To be with you. To do what you have to do. There's nothing you have gone through emotionally, even selling half of what you have and giving it to your kid and sending them off to spend it on prostitutes and gambling. There's nothing you can do. There's no pain you can suffer that compares to being dragged down the street by the people you came to save and having them spit on you and beat you till you bleed and hang you on a piece of wood outside of town and walk away from you. So sorry. No, I'm not. Instead, he chose to have a meal with you. And today we're going to celebrate that meal. You see, for these people, the idea of having a meal meant so much. You see, today, we play with our meal. So I'm going to be on a low-carb diet. I'm going to be on a low-fat diet. I'm going to find out that fat tastes good. I'm going to go through all this stuff and just goof around with my meal. I'm going to eat my meal on the car on the way somewhere. And then I'm going to sit and watch TV with the meal. No. For these people, the meal meant something. In fact, there are 7 meals that God lays out for these people, specifically meals. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Feast of Trumpets. That was probably a really cool one to go to. The Feast of Tabernacles. every time he wanted them to mark something awesome that happened or something horrible that happened, there was a meal. Now, those meals took days. I mean, these guys didn't take Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. They took like a week. And everybody come to town and let's party. Let's just sit back and have a meal. But let's talk about their personal meals, their meal at home, the time they spent together. You know, the sun didn't go down and you kept working. The sun went down and you went home and you had a meal. And the TV didn't work because it wasn't there yet. And most people couldn't read like you can read today. You didn't have 70 books on the shelf and you could sit and you looked each other in the eyeball and you had a meal together and you loved on each other and you talked about what happened in your day and you related with each other. I was standing yesterday as people came and helped us move. Oh, thank you, Lord, the people who came and helped us move. But we ate donuts together and we would eat sandwiches together, and there was never a time when we all stopped and went, but there would be little gatherings of people and you would be sitting and eating a donut and drinking a glass of milk or having a sandwich and spending time together. And I caught my dad, who doesn't know any of you, sitting with 3 other people and sitting and talking and having a meal and making relationship. These people celebrated, ratified contracts together, had marriages together, and ate meals. They did all of these things through a meal. We kind of do too, don't we? It means so much to have these meals together. This is not a new God. This isn't a new thing Jesus is inventing. This having a meal together for this boy. This isn't some special New Testament deal. We like to think of Old Testament God, or some like to think of Old Testament God as saying, kill all the foreigners and move into the place I gave you and don't talk to or mingle with anybody. It's a real simplistic reading. But what I want to encourage you to do is I want you to go back and read those Old Testament stories again. And as you sort through them, I want you to pay attention to what he really says to do with the foreigner and the stranger and those who have been cast out. Deuteronomy 10:19. So show your love for the alien, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. Leviticus 19:34. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as a native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 25:35. Now, in the case a countryman of yours becomes poor, and his means with regard to you falter, then you are to sustain him like a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Lots of Deuteronomy, lots of Leviticus, lots of Deuteronomy. About as Old Testament gets. If you want to find some Old Testament law kind of stuff, you read just some Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Point is this. Be careful what you read in the Old Testament and the way you read it, and don't be lazy. What God was telling them about separating themselves from people were separating themselves from people who taught them to follow other gods. He doesn't tolerate that too well. But again and again and again, he says, bring the stranger into your home. Bring the disenfranchised into your home. Bring those who have been put out into your home. Feed them. Love on them. Care for them. Be with them. So there's another son, and his name is Jesus Christ. This son left home and wandered about with yucky people. And when he came home, the reaction wasn't so good. He was separated from his Father for us. And as he hung on the cross, he lets us know out loud, my God, why have you forsaken me? For we know he was separated. But this son is inviting you to the table to come and be with him. He has shown us a way. He has shown us a way to be in communion with him, to be with him as people ever have, by connecting it to our tongues and our stomachs and our comfort of one another. Think of it like this. The ultimate brother, the ultimate son, was cut off. And he has returned. And we must celebrate. We must celebrate.